This morning, if you would like to join us, we'll be in 1 Corinthians. If you would like to start flipping there. 1 Corinthians chapter 12. Who likes joyriding? Who likes road tripping? No? Really? Am I the only one? Come on, we got the motorcycle contingent, we got RVers, there's some people out here who like the open road. The open road is freedom. You know, there have been several road trips my family and I have made, go through various states. And you know what? After our kids got past the point of crying after every couple of minutes or hours, we have fun. Because road trip is fun. If you just go. Just this idea of getting out there and going. And seeing the scenery that is around. We took a road trip from Deming, New Mexico up to Las Vegas to see friends of ours get married, Sherry and I. That was a beautiful trip. You headed west on I-10, went to Arizona, and then started heading north, went all the way through Arizona into Nevada and then into Las Vegas. Beautiful drive. But the idea of just going and getting out there. We're not like Oklahoma. I'm sorry, Oklahoma is like one of the worst states to road trip through. Unless you're taking a turnpike because you have to go through every single little town. No, forget that. Open highway traveling is fun. Open highway traveling is really, really a whole lot of fun. But do you ever think about the car? And we could use many illustrations here, but I'm going to focus on the car. Because the idea behind this is how anything is made up of the smaller parts. And how all of those smaller parts work together in order to form a whole. Same thing with a car. For example, the gas pedal. Yes! You get out there on the highway, who likes that gas pedal? Sammy Hagar was right. I can't drive 55. Okay? It is the pedal you push in order to go. And when you're out there, for example, in West Texas and some of these other places, where you don't have any small towns to go through and you just got hours of miles of open highway to just go. Either push that pedal down or set that cruise control and just go. In the church, we have gas pedals. In the church, we have gas pedals. Those of us who just want to go. There are dreamers. They're the ones who look around and they might even have the attitude of, we know we are doing pretty good, but we could do better. There are dreamers, there are seers, there are visionaries. They're the ones that are looking over the next crest and say, how much farther can we improve that way? And we need them. We do need them. They have great amounts of faith because they have a vision of what could be possible. But like anything in life, a key element of any gift is self-control. And those gas pedals, those accelerators, those visionaries, as needed as they are, we would be incomplete if that's all we were. For example, next slide please, buddy. Take this road for instance. I can't tell you where this is, but that light pattern is the road. Okay? Now, I'm going to tell you, if you love driving, I'm going to give you a car in order to drive this road. And you can go down it as fast as you can, but here's the catch. You have a gas pedal, but you don't have a brake. No brake. Have fun. Because as important as gas pedals are, as much as they are needed, and hear me, we need our visionaries. We need those who can look at a situation and say, you know what, greater things are possible. We need you. But we need it in a self-controlled way. And this is where our brakes come in. You see, some people are gas pedals, other people are brakes. Brakes are just as important as gas pedals in their own way, because you know what? As important it is as we need to be able to go, there comes times in which we need the opportunity and the ability to stop. Say that to any car who has met a brick wall. There came an opportunity and a needed situation to stop. Now, who are brakes? You know what? You might think that, okay, he's going to make fun of the people who are brakes. No, brakes are important. There are some of us who are more comfortable working with the visionaries and telling them and explaining, this is where the danger lies. We keep going in this direction, this is what could happen. This is where disaster could strike. These are brake people. And we need them. Just as we needed visionaries to put a man on the moon, we also needed brake people in order to look at the visionaries and say, okay, we need to make sure that this system works and that system works and this harness works and that part works too, or else this is all going to fall apart. After all, what would happen if we were all brake people? Alright, now this is a lovely sign. One of those road trips that I told you about, one of the ones that we made a lot, was from Deming to Dallas. Now, outside of El Paso County, I don't know about you, but there's a difference when I'm going from town to town and then when I'm going on a road trip. I usually have to hit a certain car time before I feel like, okay, now we're going. On that trip, I didn't feel like we were really on our way to Dallas until we got on the eastern side of El Paso County. So that was about 100 miles, a little more, to get to the other side. But once you got to the other side of El Paso County, there it was. Speed limit, 80. That's the minimum. Yes, and as long as you played nice with the semis, it was a good road to go on. But let me ask you this. Some of us look at that and we say, yes, but what if you only had a brake pedal? What if you only had a brake pedal? Where are you going to go? Nowhere. You say, well, I can ride the brake. Yeah, okay. Ride a brake on a highway where people are going 80 at least. And I guarantee you, I've ridden that road many times. Most of us are not going 80. We're going 90. All right? You going to putt around going 3? Be my guest. Which one's needed the most, the gas pedal or the brake pedal? Which one's more important? Which one can we really do without? The truth is, neither. Neither. We need both. And when Paul was talking to the Corinthians about the body of Christ, it's the same idea. Sometimes we get the feeling that, if I just went to a church in which everybody thought like I did, I would be a whole lot more happy. No, we wouldn't. No, we wouldn't. And think about it. Look around at the people you know who are married. Did they marry people who are just like them? Or did they marry people who are different? Most of us, statistics say, marry somebody who is different from what we are. Why? It's because, like Rocky says in the Rocky movies, we fill gaps. She has gaps, I have gaps, but together we fill gaps. That's what it is for the church family too. We fill gaps. I might think differently than you do. Don't laugh. I might think differently than you do. You might think differently from me. Well, you might have this gift. You might have that gift. And you know what? That's fine. That's great. That's the way God made it. Why didn't God just make us all exactly the same? Because He needed the differences in order for the church family to work. But you know what? We're not quite done yet with our little car anatomy. Because you know what? A brake pedal's great, a gas pedal's great, and together they make a really wonderful set. But that's not a good illustration for the body of Christ. We're not an automatic. Instead, we're a standard. some of the young people might say, what's that third pedal for? I remember I saw a video once. They left out this bait car. It was a standard in order to try to get people to steal it. And they would have these young kids. They left it unlocked, so these young kids would get in the car and they look at the stick and they wiggle and they say, and they would get busted. And they're like, what is this? This isn't a car. Yeah, it is. Who grew up driving a standard? Yeah. I tell you what, my wife taught me how to drive a standard when I was in college in Nacogdoches, which if you don't know anything about Nacogdoches, is very hilly. Steep hills that go up to a stop sign right at the top. That's not nice. You know how many times I killed the engine right in the middle of an intersection? But my wife is so awesome, she just looks at me and she says, it's all right, just put it in neutral, start it again. All right, if you're not familiar with driving a clutch or a stick, that's what that third pedal is. And that's what that stick is. We call it automatic transmission because a lot of cars these days, they shift the gear automatically. All right? And we call them manual back in the day because those gears have to be shifted manually. Slow me down if I'm going too fast. But in order to shift it manually, you had to learn the art of the clutch. And in order to start the car, you needed the clutch. And in order to stop the car properly, you needed the clutch. To this day, I didn't tell Sherry what I did to her precious Ford Ranger once when I tried to stop it without using the clutch. No heavy metal sounded that loud in my... In order to shift the gears, you needed the clutch. None of it worked unless you depressed the clutch. The clutch is what made the brake and the gas pedal work. And the body of Christ, God, is the clutch. We can have our dreamers, we can have our gas pedals, we can have our more analytical, those who just kind of look at the situation and make sure that we're staying on the right course. We can have all that, and when they work together, it's beautiful, it's wonderful, it's the body of Christ. But it is not awesome until we put in the clutch. God. God, who regulates it all. This is its purpose. God shifts it. God makes it work. And we're really not going to go anywhere, and we're going to do some serious damage to our body if we do not put in the God element. It all works together for the benefit of the whole. Now look at 1 Corinthians 12. Corinth was a mess. Regardless of how long I will be in ministry, anywhere I go, I look at it hopefully because there was hope for Corinth. Right? There was hope for Corinth. Because Corinth was a mess. Now this is 1 Corinthians. This isn't even 2 Corinthians. But 1 Corinthians up to chapter 12, this is some of the issues in which Paul had to deal with. He had to, people worry about church splits. Corinth was on the threshold of a 4-way split. All right, 4-way split, false esteem, spiritual pride, sexual immorality, and incest. Taking each other to court to sue one another. Marriage issues, strong versus weak brethren, pagan sacrifices, propriety in worship. And even to the point, Phil mentioned a potluck earlier. Goodness sakes, these people weren't even willing to wait on each other to have the agape feast. First century potluck. They're not here. And then go out of their ways to eat all the food before everybody could show up. Talk about issues. Talk about issues. And Paul had to go and write to these people. In fact, some believe that Paul wrote 4 letters to Corinth. We have, for what's called 1 and 2 Corinthians, but he could have written as many as 4 letters to Corinth. Some people believe we have letters 3 and 4. But the work that went into this body. And Corinth was a place that a church was not supposed to be able to exist, let alone thrive, because of all the issues and the type of place it was. Corinth was the Las Vegas of the ancient world. When we talk about Las Vegas today, we say, what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. Well, back in the 1st century, they had a saying about Corinth. Anything is permissible in Corinth. And there's going to be a church there? Really? Yes. And guess what? The people who came from a different background, who came from different baggage, who has different issues, has different talents. Paul spent some time in 1 Corinthians 12 to talk about how you are all needed. One of the big issues they had was pride. Pride over the different types of abilities and gifts they had. And how they would look at themselves with spiritual superiority if they, in their mind, thought they had a grander gift than somebody else. The truth is, all were needed. Because not one part can do the entire work of the church on its own. Listen to what he says, or read along with me. In chapter 12, beginning in verse 21. The eye cannot say to the hand, I don't need you. And the head cannot say to the feet, I don't need you. On the contrary, those parts of the body that seem to be weaker are indispensable, and the parts that we think are less honorable we treat with special honor. And the parts that are unpresentable are treated with special modesty, while all presentable parts need no special treatment, but God has combined the members of the body and has given greater honor to the parts that lacked it, so that there should be no division in the body, and that its parts should have equal concern for each other. If one part suffers, every part suffers with it. If one part is honored, every part rejoices with it. Now you are the body of Christ, and each one of you is a part of it. And in the church of God has appointed first of all apostles, second prophets, third teachers, then workers of miracles, also those having gifts of healing, those able to help others, those with gifts of administration, and those speaking in different kinds of tongues. Are all apostles? Are all prophets? Are all teachers? Do all work miracles? Do all have gifts of healing? Do all speak in tongues? Do all interpret? But eagerly desiring the greater gifts. We need the body. And we need the different gifts that each part of the body has. Because no one can do it all on our own. We need to surround ourselves with people who might have a different line of sight than we do. Because lo and behold, we might learn something. And we also need to have people around us who are brave enough to tell us, I don't think I would do it that way. Because lo and behold, we might learn something from them too. But what we also need is people walking behind God in full humility and full knowledge that we are not perfect. And that I might be missing something. But what we don't do is start cutting off parts of the body just because they might be a little different from us. Let me tell you a story. Once upon a time in Deming, New Mexico, there was one English-speaking congregation and one Spanish-speaking congregation. That didn't last long. That didn't last long because the English-speaking congregation, they had a split between the Sunday school debate. Is it right to have Sunday school or not? They could not work it out, and so they split. So now we have to. As time moved forward, little bitty, and I'm not going to go into detail because it's my right, but I will tell you this. All of it, in the grand scheme of things, insignificant and petty. The two churches, guess what, started having disagreements with themselves. And so each one split again. Now, as the good news is, as this was going on, some of those who were becoming upset with how many times churches were splitting started going back to the original church. And that was awesome. But the thing was that, guess what? There was another argument that took place, and so it split again. Oh, what about Mr. Spanish church over here? What was going on over there? Spanish church, they started having a disagreement with each other, so they split. And then one of the segments that split off from the main one split again. There was a time that in Deming, New Mexico, a town of about 20 to 25,000 people had as many as 8 churches in Christ. Why? Because they couldn't work it out. They couldn't. It's not even about necessarily agreeing. It's like they couldn't work it out. And they started taking that road to Splitsville. Let me tell you something about the road to Splitsville. It's the same lie that divorce has. It's easy. It's not easy. It's sad. And as soon as people start taking that road, we're just going to break away and then we can be our own unit and do whatever we want to. No, we won't, because guess what? Another disagreement will happen again. Because that's what people do. We disagree. How quick before that easy road leers itself again. Oh, if I can just break away from these people and do my own thing, I will be fine. No, you won't. Once you start taking that road, it becomes easy and damaging. And so over here, you might have a whole bunch of gas pedals who are looking ahead and just thinking of bigger and better things, and it's great. But they cut all the brakes out. And so lo and behold, they're a church family that are just one sharp turn away for going off the road and crashing. Well, on the other side, you'll have all the brake pedals who cut all the power to the gas. And lo and behold, they'll become these small churches that look out of their walls to everybody else who's around them, condemning everybody to hell because they're doing one thing different from this noble remnant is still continuing to do. And they have no vision anymore. They have no future because they think that this is it. We're just going to hole in. We're going to become Church of Christ monks. And we'll never visit the outside world again. We'll be okay. Thinking that they're doing the work of God. They've lost their vision. And where's God in the situation? Unfortunately, times it goes nowhere because they cut that part a long time ago. I mean, let's be honest. Which part can we do without? Which part are we going to get rid of first? You know what? Let's just start right now. I'm a right-handed person. I've been right-handed all my life. My right hand's the only one I need. So I'm just going to... Where do we make the first cut? What's the first to go? I could start there, but then I have this arm hanging to the side of me that does no good, so I can take it off at the elbow. So, that's no good, so I want to just take it off here. And you know what? I have one foot that's more powerful than the other. Let's just take that part off too. You know what? Who uses a pancreas? And as we start slicing and dicing ourselves, when do we make this cut right here? The head is Christ. He gives power to the body. When does that go? And yet, when we look at each other as obstacles, and we just say, I don't need you, and I don't need you, and I don't need you, and I don't need you. When does it stop? When does it stop? Instead of griping about how people are different and people are just so stubborn. Why can't they get out of their little holes? Or sometimes say, people are so stubborn. Why can't they be happy with what we have been doing? Why don't we all of us shut our mouths and look at why God made us all different? And what can truly happen when we put the parts together that God has given us, put them together where they need to be, and let that engine run. This is not the time to lose hope. We are in a very important time in history right now. 2017 can be a very interesting year, and the world's going to look for stability. The world looked for stability in 2016, and we're going to have that overflow this year. People are going to look for stability. Where are they going to find it? Hopefully, they find it in the Lord's body. But the Lord's body is too busy cutting off its own body parts for the sake of being able to do more, when in reality it's just causing great harm. They're not going to find it there. The body is a unit. A finger is different from a lung. Hair is different from toenails. Legs are different from spleen. Kidneys are different from hearts. But they all serve a purpose. And they do all have one thing in common, and that is DNA. Somebody in the medical field could take any part of my body and do some blood test on it, and the DNA will point back to me, that's part of my body. And in our body, in the body of Christ, there are different parts that have different purposes. They are being used for different reasons. But what should be flowing through all of it is the DNA. The DNA of Christ. And as we do in this year of 2017, as we're doing this year of reflection, of introspection, of looking at ourselves and wondering how are we doing spiritually, let's ask the question, how do I get along with the rest of the parts of the body? Because as a writer of a commentary in Corinthians, 1 Corinthians once said, unity is in the diversity. Unity is found in the diversity. Let's get to work. Let's be the body of Christ. Let's go on a joyride and let that engine run. This morning we'd like to offer the invitation to those of you who might be hurting or suffering with something. We'd love to comfort you in any way we can. We view you as part of the body. Or you might wish to put your Savior on in baptism. Maybe you haven't become part of the body. Maybe you haven't left behind the life of sin. We give this opportunity every time we come together. You know what? It doesn't have to be done on Sunday. Being baptized is not a Sunday-only thing. You give somebody, it's not even a church building thing. There's tons of people down here who have swimming pools. All you need is enough water to have a body. There you go. But the thing is that we offer that time here so that we can witness a rebirth. Someone who lay behind their life of sin to arise a new creature, ready to be a part of the body. But whatever needs you have this morning, would you please come down as we stand and as we sing.